Hi guys, and welcome back to another IBRACORP video. Thank you for coming in today. We're going to do something a little bit different today, and we're going to bring things back a little bit. We've seen some pretty heavy development across our Discords as well as our YouTube channel, and the support you guys have given us has been absolutely outstanding. So I really appreciate you guys coming back and checking out the channel every week. I know today's video is not going to cover a specific topic like you would expect, but I hope you guys still appreciate it nonetheless. I feel like a lot of the time when we get these videos out there, we're sort of just, we pick a topic, I introduce it, we do the video, and then we wrap it up for the week, and then I'll basically leave it there until we see you the next week. And in between that, we have people coming into our Discord and we have conversations throughout the week and developments, and sort of build on what we learned and try to branch out into new things and expose new things as well. Whereas today I was really keen to do a bit of a sort of a Q&A session with you guys and give you an opportunity to ask me some questions that might be either personal or business related, or something a little bit off topic. Get to know me a little bit better and I'll get to know you guys a little bit better too. So with that, the other day I basically gave the opportunity for you guys to ask me some questions, and I've compiled those questions now. I posted it up on the community tab asking for them, and a few people have responded, so thank you to those who have responded with the question. I really appreciate it. A couple of those questions were actually requests for different video topics, and I still do appreciate those as well. And I'll try and address those today, but obviously I'm not going to be making a video for those requests today. But if you do want to make requests for videos, guys, please feel free to join our Discord, because in there we have a bot that will process all these requests, and our community leaders put them together, and then we have an upvote system basically where other members of the community can vote for the videos they want to see. And I can assure you there's no lack of topics to cover, and there's plenty of topics there that I'm going to get to in due time. And as it stands, we've got a nice list to work on, so I'll get to those when I can. So as I said today, well, let's just keep it casual. Let's chill out together, grab yourself a cup of coffee, kick your feet up, we'll have a little bit of a conversation, and I'll make some announcements while I'm here as well for things that are going to be coming up very soon and things that have already taken place. So if this sounds interesting, you want to have a chat, you want to listen to these questions and answers, kick back, relax, and let's get into it. So let's start with the questions, guys. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put up the graphics for it basically, so that way we don't have to mess around with our desktop. I can just sit back and relax and talk to you guys and worry about the rest in the editing. So we're gonna start with the first question, and that comes from Joel Tony. So thanks, Joel, for putting this through. His question is, how did you discover Unraid? What's your story? Love your content, by the way. So thanks, Joel, appreciate that. So how did I discover Unraid? Well, a few years ago, I obviously first found Plex. Now, Plex was a tool, media server. Somebody told me at work, and this is going back probably 7-8 years ago now. And they'd sort of mentioned it in passing, and I said, oh, it sounds pretty interesting. I'll give it a look. Have a look and see what it has on offer. And so I installed Plex. I thought, wow, this is such a cool app. There's a lot of benefits to this. I've always wanted to watch my stuff in a nice clean interface, and maybe some of you are the same. You had your DVDs stacked up there, you had your videos, you've ripped your DVDs that you've bought, and you've had the file sitting on your computer, and you're scrolling through your folder explorer, and it's obviously a messy situation. So finding Plex was really, really cool, and it allowed me to organize my media in a nice, easy to use format, which I think most people probably do anyway. So then what I found was, this is not just going to benefit me, this will probably benefit my family as well. So I started using Plex on a laptop, believe it or not. I had an old laptop laying around, and I installed Plex on that. And I had my media content on there, but I had an external hard drive plugged into it. It's a familiar story, I think, with most people who start off in that sort of sphere. And I actually have a family member with a disability, so it was really nice to be able to put this stuff into Plex for her so that she was able to watch stuff with as little difficulty as possible. And it made it really easy to use, especially with something like an iPad, for example. And my siblings were using it, so then I asked a couple of friends if they were interested, and we got to really experience it together, which was nice. After a certain amount of time, the laptop just wasn't enough. Power-wise, you know, it just couldn't handle more and more content or the higher quality content. So I decided to build a server, and originally it was running Windows server. Now in my work life and my personal life, basically throughout my whole life, I've been using Windows in a work environment professionally. So I felt pretty comfortable using Windows, and I thought that was probably going to be the best choice. I saw that Plex works on Windows and understand how the folder structures work and how to manage it as efficiently as possible. So I started with Windows. Now the problem with that though is that there's a lot of chopping and changing with Windows. I found the experience wasn't as nice as I would like. So I was running Windows on virtual ESXi by VMware. And ESXi is great. It's a great piece of software. It runs awesome. It's really clean. But the thing is, it basically runs on there and you don't touch it anymore. And you just go by the OS that you've installed or the host that you've installed on it. And I wanted a little bit more control. So I started doing a little bit of researching, a little bit of Googling here and there, trying to understand what other options there are out there. And it dawned on me that with the setup that I had, there wasn't really any sort of redundancy. I didn't set up any sort of RAID. You know, it was basically just 1 or 2 disks in there, and it's running off ESXi, which then show up as virtual disks inside of Windows. Then I found Unraid. And the website was the first thing that pulled me in, to be honest. I thought, oh, this website looks really nice and clean. You know, what is Unraid? Let me check it out. And believe it or not, I actually rejected the idea of it at first. I thought, this looks a little bit over the top, or maybe I don't really understand it, so I can't be bothered trying to learn something new. I'm just going to let it go. Well, a few months later, I decided to give it a go again. I bought the license, and here we are, all these years later, and I've learned so much about Unraid that, you know, I look back and I think, God, I wish I had it 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So I started looking up help, trying to figure out how to use it, trying to understand how it works. And just like most of you guys, I got a lot of my knowledge from someone like Space Invader 1, from the forums, from other community members. And it started to dawn on me that this community is really, really strong. And something that I didn't really get when I tried to learn something like Linux, for example. I didn't grow up using Linux. You know, I had no intention of wanting to learn Linux. It was basically a very off-putting OS, and the reason why is because when I tried to ask for help or seek help somewhere, you know, you find these typical comments where it's like, you should already know this, or if you've come here to ask about this, then Linux isn't for you. And I hated that attitude. I absolutely hated it. I thought that's not a very welcoming attitude to have if you want people to use this OS. Whereas with Unraid, for example, I didn't see that. I saw a lot of people that had ideas. They had, you know, here's my setup, and they're showing you their setup so you can see if you want to emulate it. I thought that was pretty cool, you know. And so I learned a lot about that, and I started using Docker, and I started learning about automation and setting up things like Sonar and Radar. And I thought, wow, this is awesome. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that's something that made me stick with Unraid for quite a while now. And it's one of the reasons why I won't change. So let's go on to the next question. So Dominic Camaso. First of all, I have been loving all your videos. You've been doing amazing. Would be cool to get an update on how things have been going with your switch to Unify since your initial video on it. Thanks, Dominic. I appreciate the comment there. And yeah, look, I have been planning to do a Unify follow-up video, and every time I go to push it across into my next project, something else comes up a little bit earlier, and I think, I think the community would benefit from this video more. So just so you guys know, when we do a video here at IBRACORP, we use a tool called Wecan lately. Over the past few weeks, we've developed it thanks to our community leaders, Disc and Hawks, who've put some immense time in to sort of organize it. And I will do a video on that as well. But basically, when we have all your requests out, we pick the request we want, or the one that community votes for. It goes into Wecan, and then we sort of move it into different streams, you know, which ones are going to focus on this week, what the final pick will be, and we go from there. So anyway, the Unify one is coming, but to answer your question here, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. So previously to this, guys, before using any Unify stuff at all, My setup was pretty simple. I had a Nighthawk XR500 router, amazing router, really good. And what happened was one day, I can't remember when it was, maybe a few months ago now, the router started to die on me. And I really couldn't figure out why. It just basically stopped working. It was getting really bad where I had to restart it almost weekly, and then it eventually just stopped working altogether. And so at that point, I took the opportunity for the first time to actually load DDWRT firmware onto it, and I flashed it using that. One of the best things I ever did, and I wish I'd done it sooner. So if you guys have a router that is compatible with it, I highly suggest you give it a try. If you know what you're doing, make sure you read about it first. Make sure you understand how it works, because it can brick your device if you do it wrong. But I flashed it with that, and next thing you know, it worked perfectly fine. But here comes the next thing that made me switch. So I wanted to switch because I wanted expandability, for one. Two, I wanted to be able to access it remotely. Three, I wanted more enterprise features that I wasn't getting out of my setup. Now, is this necessary for your average everyday user? Definitely not. You don't need it. But if you know what you're doing in that sort of realm, then having that control can be really good, because it gives you a lot more options that you can fine tune things, secure things, whatever the case might be. So I digress. Anyway, I then decided to switch to the Unify UDM Pro. After seeing it in my workplace for the first time, I thought, yeah, this is actually a pretty good piece of equipment. And so to answer your question, an update on how it's been. It's been interesting. When I first put it in, a few people did comment that, there was certain bugs and certain things. I have to say, if I'm being honest, look, 85% of the time, I've had no dramas. It basically sits there in my rack, doing what it needs to do. Things are working fine. The issues, though, that I started to come across involved mostly the threat management side of things. And look, I'll admit, part of it is possibly my own configuration of it and how I'm using it. So there's that part there, but I'm still a bit fiddly with it, and I'm not too happy with how it's been performing in that sense, which is one of the biggest sellers of it. It's got threat management built in. Whereas if I wanted to do that open source, I could have gone with something like pfSense. So my update would be like, I'm really happy with it, but there's certain parts that I think are still developing, and I really hope Unify get that sorted out, because it's causing me a lot of dramas in that sense, and it takes the extra little bit of effort to work things out. So I hope that answers the question. I still vouch that it's a good product. One of the biggest sellers for me was, if I want to expand things out, I simply buy a router. Previously you would have to buy a router, buy an extender, buy this, buy that, set up 10 different things. Whereas with the Unify setup, I've been able to just buy an access point. If I don't have enough wireless out in one side of the house, just get another access point. $100 as opposed to buying an extender, which may only work with one product or whatever the case might be. So thanks for the question, Dominic. I hope you enjoyed that. Appreciate your question. Next one is from Leaf, one of our fellow Aussie mates here. So thanks for the question, Leaf. He's asked, hey mate, been absolutely loving the videos and the Discord community too. Lots of knowledgeable people who are willing to help out. That's absolutely true, guys. I can't give props enough to basically everyone in that community, because it doesn't rely on an admin anymore. People are happy to answer questions where they can for each other and give each other guidance, and it's really been phenomenal. So I'm really happy to see how much it's developed, and I want that to keep going. If you feel like you've been left out in the cold, you don't know the answer to something, jump in there, have a go. Make your voice heard. We're very welcoming. I will say, don't go in there thinking that it's like a tech support where we're just going to solve every problem. We like to see people with initiative who have given something a go. They're a little bit stuck. They don't know what to do. Jump in. We'll help you out where we can. So Leaf's question is, if you had to choose one, which bit of software have you found the most useful, excluding Unraid? Well, Leaf, my answer is probably going to annoy a lot of people, to be honest. My most valuable piece of software that I have so far to this day has been Nginx Proxy Manager. And the response that you get from the community when you say something like that is exactly what I was talking about before when it comes to Linux communities. It's in people's heads that the more difficult something is, the better it is. I don't agree with that. In fact, I will always call out people that want to make that claim, because there are multiple different products and there are multiple different purposes for those products. And I'll give you an example. When I first started, I used Let's Encrypt. I followed Space Invader 1's videos, just like probably everyone else basically at the time. I did end up learning how to use it. I learned it very fluently. I understood how it worked. I had everything running through it, no problems at all. I have to give props to the application. It had templates, made things as easy as it possibly could. And at the end of the day, reverse proxy is not a beginner sort of topic. It's not something that, you know, if you've just picked up a computer, you're not going to jump into reverse proxy. It's for someone that has everything working locally, perfectly fine. They're happy, it's polished. And they're thinking, okay, now I want to get it accessible from outside the house. And it's a topic that you have to learn. Okay, you have to put in time for that. But what I found was, if I made one little spelling mistake in these configuration files, if I missed one little detail, there goes my whole website. It's down. Now, for the majority of you that are hosting stuff from home and it's just for home access, that's not such a big deal. If you're a business and you're running a business website, on the other hand, it kind of is a big deal. And the other thing I found was the amount of time that it would take me. So it doesn't necessarily have to be difficult, but if it takes a lot of time, that's valuable. And to me, one of my mottos to myself, guys, is time is the one thing that you can't buy. It really is one of the most expensive commodities out there. Just think how much time you've got in a day. You've got 24 hours in a day. If you're lucky, you're getting 8 hours of sleep. You might be working 7.5 hours at work. It doesn't leave you a lot of time. So every second counts. And I found Nginx Proxy Manager the perfect solution for me, personally. So don't be put off by someone who says, oh, you should really use Swag, or you should really use Let's Encrypt, or make your own mind up. Give it a go. For me personally, I will vouch for something like Nginx Proxy Manager because, hey, I want to get something reverse proxied. I'm done in 3 minutes. Bang. It's up, ready to access. I have everything I need in there. Easy peasy. Again, a little bit of a long-winded response there, Leaf, but I hope that is useful for you. If I had to give you my second most useful tool or bit of software, I would probably go and shout out something like Organizer. And I've done a video on Organizer, and the reason why I shout it out is because it really encompasses a lot of things under one roof. So especially if you're someone that's new or advanced, it gives you a lot of flexibility to have everything under one roof and help users, because this is the thing, guys, at the end of the day, if it's not just for you and you're doing it for other people, they may not be that tech savvy. And so we're looking for tools that we can use that they will use. Now, a lot of developers tend to forget this. They tend to look at a product from a developer's point of view. Well, what about the end user? Because if the end user doesn't find it easy to use, doesn't find it engaging, why would they use it? If it's going to be difficult, they're not going to use it, put simply. And they're going to be put off. And then you're going to end up in this scenario again where people are, for example, asking you to manually add stuff to the servers. We don't want that. So I recommend Organizer gets checked out. If you're just starting out, you want to figure out how to get a nice home page with integrations and single sign-on all built in there, and it's a nice, easy to use interface for someone that may not know their way around yet. That's my next recommendation. So thanks for the question, Leaf, and we'll go on to the next one. Next one is from Glenn Lunder. Do you feel the Unraid storage model is safe enough, in quotes, versus something like ZFS? Have you had catastrophic drive failures with Unraid? Look, Glenn, I'm gonna say, is it safe enough? I can see you've put that in quotation marks, and the reason is, I think, because enough is pretty subjective, but I think it is. I think it is fine. Comparing it to something like ZFS, I think there are better models out there, but what else do those models offer? Do they offer the same plugins and features and Docker and all that stuff that Unraid can bring to the table too? around the storage model? Or are we just asking about the storage model? Because we can't just have a look at one particular part of it. There's so much that gets built into one. Now, to answer your question, have you had any catastrophic drive failures? I currently run with one case drive, and that's purely due to the limitation of the box that I'm using, my case. And that case drive has died on me. So I haven't lost an Unraid disk as yet, fingers crossed, but I have lost my case drive. And so to get around that, what I had to do was rebuild that case drive. I had to get a new one, and I waited for an RMA. And the way Unraid dealt with that was awesome. It worked perfectly fine. The disk was gone. I found with the case disk going out that one of the biggest issues was just having to put the containers back in. Maybe the settings were out, and then I've rebuilt it and it worked fine. So to answer your question, Glenn, I think it is safe enough. I think if you wanted to delve a little bit further, there are other options out there. And there are options within Unraid to change your disk formats and the structure that you use to manage your data. So you have those options there. And if you feel like that's not enough, then you can look at other options that might suit you a little bit better. And we've got a question here from Blue Squadron. Thanks for dropping it in. And this one made me laugh a little bit because he says maybe a collab with Mr. Space Invader 1. Mr. Space Invader, if you're reading this, I hope you're doing well. I am a big fan of your work from day one. I have great respect for you. And as I responded to Blue Squadron here, I said that I have tried to reach out to Space Invader 1 as much as I possibly can, both on Reddit, on Unraid, as well as on YouTube. And I just haven't had any response. Now, I don't know, he does get a lot of comments, so maybe it was just buried in all of his messages. But let's be frank here, he knows my channel exists by now. And if he would love to collaborate, I am more than happy to. I would love to do that. I think the community would benefit from us working together. So I think it's about time we just called it out and said, mate, if you want to work together, let's do it. I love your work and I hope you feel the same way about mine. And I'm really looking forward to working with you if the opportunity presents itself. So anytime you feel like that's something you want to do, get in touch with me. Let's do it. So guys, with some of your questions out of the way now, I can get to the announcements that I plan to let you know about. The first one is our merch store. So after some consideration and some hesitation, I finally got a merchandise store up. I've worked with Spreadshirt to get that up for you guys. I know it's not much, and look, I never really was planning to do a merch stuff anyway, but I have to look at other options that might help support the channel. And it gives you guys something physical that you can sort of hang on to, because I know that when you sort of donate or if you sign up, you don't really get a physical thing. So this is a way for you to support the channel and get something physically that you can then hang on to help support the brand, help support the name. If you're interested in that, I'll drop the link in the description, and it just goes down to Spreadshirt. Obviously they take a cut for themselves, but I get a little bit too. So if it's something you're interested in, let me know. I can help develop it further and add more designs and things like that. At this stage, we've got our red branding as well as the neon branding as well. So you can pick either of the two. The neon one is the color that you're seeing on the screen right now. And that's our new logo brand. And that'll be the one going forward as well. So I hope you guys like it. Check it out. If you think you are interested, pick up a hat, pick up a mug, shirt, whatever you think might work. A little bit of a sticker. I really appreciate anything you guys can do to help support the channel. Which leads me on to my next and final announcement. Whether you guys have been following me for a while or just a short time, I've really appreciated having you with me. And I basically started this channel in January this year. A week before I started it, I actually found out that I was going to be a dad. And now it's coming up to the time where they are going to be born. And that's right, I said they. I'm actually going to have two twin sons born on July 15th of this year. Even though they haven't arrived yet, they've been the motivator for a lot of this work, and I'm trying to build something that helps them in the future too. I need to let you guys know about this because, as you can imagine, I'm going to be taking a short break in order to look after them and make sure they get the attention they deserve. And these are the things that are most important in life, so I have to put them as number one priority. So you might notice that I'm going to be absent for a couple of weeks, but I'll still be in the Discord. I may still get the video out there when I have time, but at least the first few weeks, it's going to be difficult for me to do any sort of recording. So your way of supporting me would be to please subscribe, like the videos that you watch, join us in Discord, follow us on Twitter, whatever you can do, buy our merch. Everything counts and really helps me out and helps me give back to you quicker, because the sooner that I can get that sort of support for my family, get them all organized, I can get back to doing this stuff as well. And I really can't wait to do it. In the time from now till then, I'll be sure to get more videos up there. I still have topics right up my sleeve which are ready to go. I've got all the documentation ready, and I have some really cool subjects that you guys are going to love before the date comes. But yeah, from July 15th, you'll probably notice a little bit of a drop from me, but my team members in the Discord are there to support me and support you guys so that we can transition through this all together. Obviously it's a bit personal news, but I wanted to share that with you because I feel like the people who are watching my channel, we've sort of grown together and it's been really, really cool. And I've really enjoyed this year so far, and I hope to get back to you as soon as reasonably possible. I just want to give a big shout out to all the developers who have agreed to join our Discord as well and pitch in. People like Trash and CauseFX and GilbN and Hot.io, all you guys, thank you very much for joining and helping the community grow. We really hope to support you further in your projects as well, and I think this has been such a great community collaborative effort, and I can't wait to see you in the next IBRACORP video.